Today we're going to talk about the difference between MedPay coverage and your own private health insurance. So first, a little bit of history. Back about 20 years ago, we had something in Colorado called no fault. Under the old no fault law, it didn't matter who was at fault if you got in an accident. Your own insurance company would pay for the medical bills that you incurred, and we didn't worry about getting coverage for those damages from the other side until much further down the road. We changed that law in 1996, and under the current law, we call it a pure fault state, where now the only thing that matters is the person who's at fault, and that person is technically and legally responsible for all of your damages, to include your medical bills. However, that person, or more specifically that person's insurance company, is not going to pay any of those bills as they're being incurred. Rather, they will wait until the end of the case and will make one settlement and one payment that's all inclusive of all of your damages from the moment of the accident, including ambulances, emergency rooms, your regular doctor's appointment, any rehab surgeries, everything. It's going to be one payment at the end. And so what that means is that you have to figure out how to pay for your medical care from the moment of the accident until the date and time that we get your case settled down the road. So that can be incredibly challenging for most of my clients. Among the things that you need to consider are, does my health insurance plan require me to pay copays and deductibles? If you're like 99.9% of people out there, the answer is yes, and you need to be prepared to pay those out of pocket. So that can create a financial nightmare for a number of my clients, and that's where a product called MedPay comes in. After the change in the law, many people were finding themselves in financial straits because of having to self-finance things like copays and deductibles, or emergency room visits, or ambulance trips that weren't covered by their private health insurance, and were looking for a way to get those bills paid. Our legislature created something called MedPay. What MedPay is a baby step back to the no-fault coverage that we had before, wherein we look to your own insurance policy to pay those initial bills that get incurred, such as an ambulance or an emergency room. The minimal limits in Colorado for medical payments coverage is $5,000. We recommend that you bump that up to a minimum of $10,000, and that's per person in your vehicle, and that's a critical fact. If you have a bunch of kids in your car going to a softball game or something like that, it covers each and every single person in your car for the amount of that coverage. And so it's not just a gross amount of coverage. The other important facts about it is that, number one, MedPay is non-subrogable. What does that mean? That's a fancy word that means that you don't have to pay it back. So if MedPay steps in and pays those initial bills that help to satisfy your out-of-pocket minimums and your copays and deductibles, you don't, in the end, have to turn around and pay back your health insurance for that amount. That's pure coverage. You paid a premium for it. It pays out according to the insurance policy, and you're over and done with that. Secondly, the coverage under your medical payments policy is not dependent upon fault. So if you're at fault for the coverage, it's going to pay those benefits. If you're not at fault for the accident, it's also going to pay those benefits. And so it's important to know that no matter what, you have coverage to help letting any accident become an immediate financial nightmare for you and your family. The third most important fact about MedPay is that when MedPay pays out, we don't in turn give the at-fault party credit for what MedPay may have already paid. The reason behind that is that you paid a premium for that MedPay coverage, and because of that, we're not going to afford the at-fault guy that paid nothing towards that coverage any reduction in his damages or her damages, so they're still going to be on the hook just later on down the road, as we mentioned a few moments ago. So in the end, the lesson to take away is that MedPay is critically important. Please do not ever waive MedPay. It's a very, very important coverage. The minimal expense for MedPay is far outweighed by the cost of having to come out of pocket for those expenses in the event that you're in an accident. If you have any questions about your medical payments coverage or anything to do with your insurance company or coverage, Feel free to contact us at 303-597-4500, or you can reach us on the internet at www.myaccidentlawyer.co. Look forward to working with you.